Listen, Rob Manfred, if you're a viewer of GiraffeNeckMarc, just let me know. What was it, about a month ago I put out about the 5 new rules that Major League Baseball needs to add to the next season? And what do you know? Yesterday, we get an article about some new rules that are being proposed for the 2019 season as well as the future for Major League Baseball, and some of my suggestions were on there. Rob Manfred. A fan? Nah, honestly, probably isn't watching my videos. Let's be honest, he's got a little bit more important things to do. Although, it is nice to see that some of my rule suggestions are some of the rules that they're trying to implement into the game, which kind of solidifies my point about, I'm always right. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the new rule changes that they're proposing. We're going to talk about what the changes could be and how they could affect baseball. I'll give you my opinion. Of course, as always, I'd love to know your guys' opinion about all the rule changes that could be coming to Major League Baseball for the upcoming season, as well as the future, in the comment section down below. So make sure you get down there. Let's have a conversation. Remember to leave a like on this video if you do enjoy. It's the best way to help support the channel, as well as subscribe if you are new. We are on our way to 38K. I'd love to hit it by the end of this week, sooner than later. And if you want to continue the conversation, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description down below to both of those. So I believe it was an article from The Athletic yesterday written by Ken Rosenthal that details all the new rules that could be added or that are being proposed to be changed in Major League Baseball. Some of these rules are for the 2019 season, some of them are a little bit further down the line. The 2 rule changes that you might have heard about already, because they're getting a lot of talk on Twitter, on TV, on MLB Network. They're getting a lot of talk. We've got the universal designated hitter, so of course the National League would adopt a DH, as well as a 3-batter minimum for pitchers. These rules could be implemented as soon as 2019, which I think is absolutely crazy. I think you gotta give the teams a little bit more time, because of course this does involve a different construction of your team, but I'll go further into detail with all the rules and changes after I go through all the new ones that are proposed. So I already talked about the 3-batter minimum. I talked about the universal DH. There's also a proposal for a single trade deadline before the All-Star break, so no more waiver trade deadline, no more non-player trade deadline. It's just going to be a single trade deadline. A 20-second pitch clock. They want to expand the rosters to 26 players with a maximum, you can't have any more than 12 pitchers on the roster, so you'd have 12 pitchers, 14 batters. Major League Baseball feels like there's a problem with teams being okay with losing and not trying to get better, so a way to fix that would be by altering how the draft works. Essentially, teams that are winning teams would receive better draft advantages rather than losing teams. They also propose that a study to lower the mound could be in effect. And then the final one is essentially the Cuyler rule, which would allow 2 sport amateur athletes to sign a Major League Baseball contract. So first, let's get the ones out of the way that I honestly don't think will happen or really aren't that big of a deal. Let's talk about the Cuyler rule. I honestly couldn't care less. This is an interesting decision here. Of course, this is pretty much because of what happened with Cuyler Murray. By giving him a Major League contract, he can get a lot more pay, and therefore he would have more incentive to play for the A's, as opposed to maybe going to the NFL draft and being drafted in the first round, where he'll get a lot of money. Personally, don't find this a big deal. How many times in baseball do we really have an issue where there's a 2-sport athlete that is really debating between the 2 about which one is the right choice for him? I still think baseball is the right move for Cuyler Murray. I personally don't see it as an NFL player, but hey, I've been proven wrong before. I don't know that much about football. I'm like an average to above average football fan. But what I've seen baseball-wise, I think he could be a very solid baseball player, make a nice career out of it. Plus, you don't get hit in the head, you don't get tackled. That seems like a positive to me. But that rule, couldn't care less. A study to lower the mound. Now, I don't think that the height of the mound truly is the issue with why offensive numbers such as batting average and strikeouts have gone down or up. Personally, I think it's a hitting philosophy. I think it's how baseball is being taught. Also, we are at a point in baseball where pitchers are better than they ever have been before. They're throwing harder. They've got more movement on their pitches. Yes, lowering the mound does give the pitchers less of an advantage. Of course, when you're throwing downhill 99 miles an hour like Noah Syndergaard, it's pretty hard to hit that ball. Lower the mound a little bit, he gets a little bit smaller, less of a downhill angle. And downhill, again, this is, if you're not a huge baseball fan, or if you don't know the terminology, we're talking about essentially his release point and coming down. You lower the mound, that release point gets a little bit lower, a little bit more flat. And of course, flat pitches equal as well more offense. The last time Major League Baseball touched the height of the mound was back in 1968. There's a really good article to cut for, which I'll link in the description down below, that talks about why they lowered the mound, and it's pretty evident. There was a lot of crazy pitching stats going on that year. Bob Gibson had a 1.12 ERA. Disgusting ERA, by the way. 1.12. Imagine a pitcher with a 1.12 ERA this year. I mean, we saw Jacob deGrom last year with that crazy low ERA. Bob Gibson was lower. There was also 7 other starters in Major League Baseball that had an ERA under 2 that year. When has that ever happened? I seriously don't know. Maybe like back when Cy Young was pitching, but even then, crazy numbers. Carl Yastrzemski won the batting title with a .301 batting average that year, which is one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in Major League Baseball history. And in that season, Major League Baseball had the lowest batting average ever at the time, as well as the second lowest on base percentage. And then the fourth point that they made was that entire teams just couldn't hit. There were 7 teams that hit under 230 that year. The Yankees, of course, who had Mickey Mantle and a lot of great players, hit 214. The Chicago White Sox averaged 2.86 runs per game. I mean, there was clear issues there. I don't think baseball is even close to what it was like then. I don't think the mound necessarily needs to be lowered. I think hitters, you just need to be a little more particular. Stop swinging for the fences every time. Stop with the launch angle. Go for hits. It's all about philosophy, in my opinion, and I think that the philosophy right now is just not about being a good hitter for average. So lowering the mound, I think doing a study is completely fine, but I think they're gonna find that it's not worth it. Draft advantages for winning teams as opposed to for losing teams is an interesting subject because it brings up the debate about tanking. Now, baseball's a weird sport where you don't necessarily tank for draft picks. You know, you get your Bryce Harpers, you get your Steven Strasburgs every once in a while, but you get guys like Mike Trout who were drafted, 25th overall. You get guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Mike Piazza. Those guys weren't the #1 overall pick. They weren't the top 5 pick. They weren't top 10. So it's an interesting scenario. I don't think it's necessarily the best fix because let's just go ahead and say that the Mets win the World Series. And let's say there's a Mike Trout clone who's available in the draft next year. Yes, the Mets should be rewarded for winning the World Series, but should they get the next Mike Trout? I mean, that doesn't seem like a good look. Roster expansion. I'm a big fan of the roster expansion. I think they should definitely expand to 26, especially with the 12 pitcher maximum. Now with the 12 pitcher maximum, what I would like to see is maybe that you can have kind of in the NBA, you have a two-way player who can go between the G League and the NBA. I'd love to see where you could have a guy who could maybe go from AAA to major leagues or a few guys like that, so that if you have a reliever or you have a starter that needs to take a break, has been used too much, you'd be able to swap them in and out. 20-second pitch clock, one of the things that I did mention in my video, a lot of people have a lot of differing opinions on it. People are like, oh, it throws away the rhythm, which I agree with. It could throw off some rhythm. But let's be honest, if you can't throw a pitch in 20 seconds, that is absolutely ridiculous. That is way too long. People bring up the point of injury. What are you talking about? They're like, oh, you're gonna force them to rush, which could make them get injured more. No, that's not the case. Count to 20 seconds in your head. There is no reason to rush. There is nobody in Major League Baseball who pitches like Cy Young back in the day, who swings his arm round and round and takes 25 seconds just to get through their windup. The majority of time wasted that would be used in this pitch clock is for taking signs. So if you're trying to tell me that more players are gonna get injured, it's just wrong. I hate the idea of a single trade deadline before the All-Star break. Get rid of it. Terrible idea. I do not like that one bit. I won't even talk more about it because I think it's honestly stupid before the All-Star break especially. And then we have the two big ones. Universal designated hitter. As you guys know in my previous video about this, I said that the National League should adopt a designated hitter in their league. Now, as someone who loves baseball for what it is, I'm old-fashioned. I'm a traditional baseball fan. I love the idea of bunting. I love the strategy involved in the game. Obviously, having a pitcher hit, it involves substitutions more often, double switches, it involves sacrifice bunting, a little bit more strategy. But at the same time, what is the cost of this? You have guys like me who love that. I love the small things about baseball. I love that you have to think to understand it. But this also isolates some viewers at home who maybe don't understand baseball as well. And those are the people that you need to get involved in baseball to get the game growing to a bigger and wider audience again. Because right now, baseball's a little bit stagnant. We need to start getting the younger viewers. We need to get more viewers involved watching games. And essentially every 3 innings, having a guy step up to the plate that's going to be an automatic out just to keep the strategy and tradition alive in baseball is not really a good idea. Not to mention, if we see a guy like Jacob deGrom who has got hurt swinging, or you see a guy like Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw get hurt because they're at the plate, that's a really stupid reason to not have the DH. I mean, you lose one of your best players, one of your most valuable guys, because he has to hit just to bunt or just to be an automatic out. I love pitchers who can rake, but the DH is the right move for baseball. And then finally, this one might be the most controversial. It's the 3-batter minimum for pitchers. As we know, Major League Baseball has switched to more of a bullpen style game. You basically have your aces that go 7 or 8 innings every single time they start. And then after that, you got guys going 5 innings, sometimes even 4. You have the Tampa Bay Rays who adopted the opener last year to some success. Teams are starting to use pitchers very matchup oriented, very situationally. You got guys like Jerry Blevins who will come in just to face a left-handed hitter, and then he's out of the game. You might have a right-handed pitcher who throws submarine and he's just nasty against a certain player. We've seen more and more that teams are making more and more switches in their bullpen to get the right people in the right position to get the batters out. Just so you know, I am against the 3-batter minimum rule. I do not think that's how you speed up the game. Well, it is the way you speed up the game, but I don't think it's the right way to speed up the game. But I think with the expansion of rosters to 26 and limiting to only 12 pitchers, that kind of takes away the whole, you're going to be in for one guy, then you're going to be in one for one guy, and then you're going to be in for one guy. Because pretty soon you're going to be down to nobody left in the bullpen. So if if you limit it to 12 pitchers maximum on the roster, I don't think that this 3-batter minimum needs to be implemented. Personally, I just think it's a crazy idea. I respect Major League Baseball for trying to change the game, trying to make it more enjoyable to watch, trying to speed up the pace of play. I can't possibly see this being the right solution. There has to be a better way. I haven't thought of it yet. I don't think anybody has, but when you do, please tag Rob Manfred, tag Major League Baseball, let them know, because this 3-batter minimum rule is just, that's not it, Chief. I'd love to know what you guys think about all the possible rule changes for Major League Baseball in the 2019 as well as in the future seasons to come in the comment section down below, so let me know your thoughts and opinions. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it, help support the channel. Subscribe if you're new and you want to see more baseball content we talk about here almost every single day. And remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching. That will be it for this video. YouTube recommends you watch this video right here, as well as this is my most recent upload, so click through those if you have not seen them yet. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.